Welcome, newcomers and true believers alike. This is the Countdown to Doomsday, an MCU watch-along podcast packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, and more supervillains than you can shake the eye of Agamotto at. I'm your host, Jake, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sammy, the magical lady of Journey of North. How you doing?
I'm really good. I'm very excited to talk about this movie.
It's night and day how well you are compared to the last episode where you were under the weather.
I was just thinking that before we recorded. I was going very different experience than last time.
You're back. it
I
was
I know.
it was it was because the heroes were fighting, so you got ill, by proxy.
Yeah, I was so pale on that episode. Like I know I'm pale generally, but I was so pale.
We're the
Like
pale cast, that's for sure.
very much son of Midas. The only thing I might do tonight is sneeze. So
Tis the season.
It's the season of hay fever, yay!
As long as I don't touch my eyeball, that should be okay.
I'm gonna do it again. Am I gonna do it again? I don't know. We'll find out when I do the disclaimer.
I'm gonna sneeze again.
No, I'm not. I keep thinking I am. My nose is twitching. Right. I'll do the disclaimer.
Yes.
And then we'll crack on open this magical world.
I can't do it.
No, me neither. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. Hang on. Is our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on the Facebook page. You can come and join the Nerdy Up North Discord or the comment section where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because we can all agree to disagree in fandom. Let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Excelsior. Not even hay fever can stop the disclaimer.
It's amazing that after all this, because sometimes I can forget it. Like if I lose your train of thought, I can actually forget it. So that was pretty impressive of me.
Yeah. Hard mode. But yeah, we've reached Doctor Strange, the good doctor or the bad doctor,
Depends how you look at him.
Depending on which side of the bed he gets up on that day.
Yeah. I asked the question last night, to Ant, my husband, is Doctor Strange, I don't know why I had to explain that to you, but is Doctor Strange on the same intellectual level as Tony Stark?
Oh, it's interesting because I think him, Hulk, and Stark are all like big brains, but occupy like different areas. But I don't know if does Strange cross over into Hulk territory with his like human biology knowledge?
Maybe. I feel like out of the three of them, Bruce is probably the brainiest out of all of them.
I think he's the best all-rounder as well, like when you sort of add it all up.
Exactly. But and said the same thing. It's a completely different scale of intelligence. Like the two different sides of it.
And he obviously he mentions he has the photographic memory, which you could argue Tony probably has as well, since he's always looking at schematics and stuff.
Yeah.
But he also has the dexterous hands of a surgeon, like the steady hand, which we've seen our Tony's all shook up with PTSD, and Hulk's he's as steady as he can be, but he has to meditate to get there. So maybe he is hungry. He's got his own skills, and now that he knows some magic, he's definitely on their level.
Yeah. Ego wise, exactly the same as Tony. Ego completely matches. We had some really interesting conversations last night.
It's a dead interesting movie and lore topic. It's great.
Also, before we get into Strange, we are a few days off the back of seeing Thunderbolts.
Yes, the new Avengers.
Spoilers.
It's been announced.
I know, Marvel did it first. Marvel. I thought it was to be honest, I was reading the comments of the Marvel Facebook post, and there was a lot of positivity around it. That love the campaign. They love even though they waited a few days, they still love it. They're like, oh wow, that's a great campaign. So I really like it.
I think it's a good way to boost some extra sales now that people are like, what's Thunderbolts? I don't care. And then they're like, it's new Avengers, and like, oh, actually, maybe I should have went and seen it.
Mm-hmm. It's good, but we're not going to delve into it because we're not there yet.
No, no.
We are.
Next
Can't remember what
March.
year. What year are we in?
Next March, we'll talk about
Yeah,
Thunderbolts.
yeah, we'll get there. I have the development for Doctor Strange, and it is an interesting one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this as quickly as I can because it is pretty lengthy. So bear
Mhm.
with me. So Marvel Studios' character was Doctor Strange was initially listed as being in development with New World Pictures with a script dated January 21, 1986
That's
by
crazy.
Bob Gale, which never went into production. So it's 1989. Cox had co-written a script with Stan Lee. The script and the character travel into the fourth dimension before facing the villain Dormammu on Easter Island in Chile.
Okay.
A film using the script was almost made by Regency, but Regency Films was distributed by Warner Brothers at the time, which was in a dispute with Marvel over merchandising. Never happened.
Oh, rough.
Around this time, producer Charles Band opted. No, Charles Brand went to Marvel and began developing a film with Full Moon Entertainment. However, the whole thing expired before production could start,
Mhm.
and they kind of ended up scrapping it again. Oh my god, this gets so weird. Wes Craven had signed to
Yes.
write and direct Doctor Strange for release in either 1994 or 1995 with Savoy Pictures. In 95, David S. Goya had completed a script for the film. By April 97, Columbia Pictures had purchased the film rights, and Jeff Welsh was working on a new screenplay with Bernie Brillstein and Brad Gray producing. This is how convoluted this all is in between the 86 and 97. There is so much going on with Strange.
Oh, yeah.
By April 2000, Columbia dropped Doctor Strange, which then had Michael France attached to write the script and interest from Chuck Russell and Stephen Norton to direct. By June 2001, Dimension Films acquired the rights and Goya went back on board as writer and director. Goya hinted scheduling conflicts might ensure that the film adaptation of Murder Mysteries and promised. I'm trying to read this as fast as I can, and it's not making any sense. So, anyways, Goya drops out of it. By 2005, a new script is brought up, in which is then sent to Marvel Studios CEO Avi Arad, who
Mhm.
is the then Kevin Feige, and he then starts getting interest in it, but from Guillermo del Toro and Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, of course. They would want a piece of this.
Yeah, they absolutely loved it. It then just goes wah, wah, because Avi leaves.
Yeah.
And this is when Marvel in 2009 then start really getting interested in the fact that Doctor Strange is going to fit in their timeline in the MCU. Feige obviously is head of the
Yeah.
ball. In 2011, Patrick Dempsey put his name in the hat to play Strange. However, Feige always had Benedict Cumberbatch in mind for Doctor Strange.
And I think I might know why, because you jogged a memory there that I quickly that I read over. I didn't do too much digging into it or but the original Strange design was like based on Vincent Price.
Mhm.
So I feel like Feige was like, I need someone with like a thin, sort of gaunt profile.
Weirdly beautiful is the best word I can
Yeah.
describe Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Um,
But Dempsey is like classically Hollywood handsome, like, square jaw.
yeah. So the director position. So there was a few names that they chucked in the hat, but there's names I generally don't remember. I not that I don't remember, I don't know them.
Yeah.
I don't recognize any of their names. But Feige was determined to have Benedict Cumberbatch. He'd already offered him a role in Thor: The Dark World with
Yes.
Melky.
Yeah, there's another crazy name in this movie
Yeah.
as well.
And Benedict Cumberbatch turned it down and said, I am looking for something. What was his words? I'm looking for something more spicier. And
Yeah, I mean that was a bad character. I think even Christopher Eccleston was like, I'm just having a payday here. I'll
yeah,
I'll read the lines, I'll do my best.
yeah. The director, it then goes to Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson is predominantly a horror director. He did The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, and more recently, Black Phone.
Is Emily Rose a
And
good one? I remember
I
people
lo-
saying they liked it.
I
Yeah.
like it. I
Yeah.
like it. I love a good possession film, so
Mhm.
I liked it. And this is what got me is that a couple of horror directors, obviously Wes Craven's name's in there, and Guillermo del Toro's in there.
Mhm.
I never saw Strange as something that would fit into the horror genre, and yet we have horror directors interested, and also one goes on to do it again later on.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you mentioned about this guy. And I get it, like it's very free. Like you can do pretty much any kind of imagery
Mm,
to a point. Because I'm guessing Disney's gonna step in at some point and be like, that's too body horror. Roll it back.
yeah, let's take this back a notch. Well, Scott Derrickson said, and I quote, I think when you consider the work that I've done, it makes sense that he'd be my favorite comic book character, at
Mm,
least in Marvel Universe. Probably the only comic character in the mainstream world that I'm suited to. I feel such an affinity to the character and the story and the ambition of those comics, especially the original Stan Lee and Steve Ditko Strange Tales. I think
yeah.
those are my favorite of all time. The entire history of the comics is extraordinary, and he couldn't be so right. Like Strange Tales is some of the most mind-bending art by Steve Ditko that you will ever see. It is it's it's hard to read because of
Yeah.
how good the art is.
Yeah, because it draws your eyes like away from the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you hear this a lot from like the sort of Hollywood old guard and stuff, like that the people just love Doctor Strange. People of a certain age who went through a certain psychedelic time are just
Mm,
all in for the adventures of Vincent Price in the magical world.
yeah. It's probably why I'm really drawn to him. I'm such a huge Strange fan.
How do you
Um,
feel about Benedict's portrayal overall?
at first, because he is so established here in the
Yes,
UK,
and
it was
Sherlock.
yeah, it was so hard to be like, oh, that accent. What were you
Yeah.
thinking? However, now that we have Doctor Strange, we've got Multiverse of Madness, we've got him in Endgame, we've got him in Infinity War, we have him in so much. When I went
Mhm.
back and watched it, it felt natural. It felt like it was totally meant to be that
Yeah.
way.
Do you think it compare like how do you would you have seen this before you read a comic?
I read the comics before I saw it.
So like what kind of voice did you have in your head for him though? Like, like when you're reading it.
It
Cause
just, yeah.
because I feel like everyone had the idea that Strange was like proper like bloody are you vagabond, like a proper like wailing sorcerer maniac.
See, because I know that he is based on Vincent Price, I try to like
Yeah,
keep him out of my head, which can be quite hard because
yeah.
again, I'm a huge Vincent Price fan.
And his voice is entirely unique in this world.
It's so unique. So I try to stay away from having that. I honestly had given him a British accent in my head.
Okay. I think British would have worked fine. Like why would we care if he just moved to America? Like I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. He
Um,
could have been like a top surgeon in the UK, but his talents were wasted and he needed to advance further.
yeah.
And yeah,
I
I
need
would have been
to.
totally fine with
I
it.
do need to drop as well. Like so there's this Adult Swim show called Venture Brothers, which I've said many times you would
Please
love
do.
because it's all superheroes and old Hollywood and old cartoon and music parodies and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, their version of Doctor Strange, Doctor Orpheus, is exactly that man, like thrust into like modern times, where he's just like it, oh, and like crazy music starts playing whenever he walks in the room. Um, and Doctor Orpheus is an amazing character. He has a proper arc with like a daughter and everything, and he's a very silly man, but they managed to like wedge him into this Johnny Quest like super high tech adventure world. Um,
I will give it a watch, but you know what I'm like? It'll be like years down the line, I'll be like, Jake,
I
I
know
did
what
it.
it's not even you though, because Adult Swim is so hard to get a hold of in the UK. Um,
I have my
yeah,
means. I have my
yeah,
ways.
that's true.
I have a really good husband who knows how to find stuff. um,
Also,
yeah.
because it's summertime and I'm losing light, if the green screen starts going wacky, it's just strange magic.
Oh, I wouldn't have questioned it.
If I start fading into the dark dimension, you'll know what's happening.
Just don't go
Um,
small on us like you did in Ant-Man. That'll be. Totally, totally cool.
But yeah, like I didn't have other than like parody versions. I didn't even like think like, this isn't my Doctor Strange. I think I was always just being like, well, this makes sense for a movie and Benedict, like he looks like Doctor Strange. I'm just gonna accept it no matter
Yeah,
what.
it worked. I think because visually he's
Yeah.
there. He looks
Yeah.
like a version of Strange that you could potentially see
Yeah.
in, older comics.
Do you know what I
Um,
didn't
yeah.
pick up on? Does
Mm.
he have the white hair at the start of the movie? Or is
No,
that
it
something that
gradually
comes
grows
in?
in. Yeah,
I thought
gradually
so.
grows in.
Yeah.
I
I thought I
play
was
I
going mad.
No, you were not. I was paying so much attention to this last night because there was a certain part in it that I didn't know,
Hmm.
and that apparently the plot of Endgame is actually no Infinity War, sorry, is actually revealed. Um, and I didn't realize that was a thing. So I was like, I need to listen to this. So this is kind of like Endgame's, Infinity War Endgame has been mapped out ever since Strange. That is incredible.
Yeah, and I was quite surprised there was so much multiverse talk like right now. Um, and I'd never picked up on that to say like, oh, the magic is like borrowed from the universes
So,
of the multiverse. And I'm
uh-huh.
like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense then how it's like he's ended up like catching attention of things outside of the world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen until the second movie, but that's a cool little breadcrumb.
Yeah, and there was a lot of it in here. Just to go into the cast a second, because obviously we not only Benedict Cumberbatch, another English great actor Chitowell Ijawala.
Mhm.
I adore that man,
Yeah,
and I hate his character.
I was
Um,
gonna say he doesn't get the best part in this.
um, his he he's a hypocrite
Yeah,
for starters, so that really bothered the life out of us. We also have the amazing Benedict Wong in this movie, the other British actor. I adore this man
I
so
love him.
much.
I
Oh, I think he's great.
I couldn't believe this started his little journey on embracing like modern culture in this as well. Like when he's like Beyonce, like Adele, like stuff like that. He starts
It's
listening to the CD.
Eminem. Benedict Wong, I believe, now God, you can tell us if I'm wrong. I think he's the guy from the IT crowd,
Right, okay.
the countdown episode.
Oh, right, okay. I hadn't noticed that.
I feel like that's him, and I want to make sure I'm right because I won't feel like an absolute fool if I'm wrong.
And like one of
Um,
the one of the first people we see as
listen,
well is Mads and Tilda
now.
getting into it.
One, I was right. It is Benedict Wong is from
Yeah.
the Countdown episode in the IT Crowd, which is one of the funniest episodes um that's the IT Crowd did. So I remember at the time that this coming out, the the outrage from fans over the casting of the Ancient One being Tilda Swinton.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense for stupid
Yeah,
Marvel fans
yes.
to be mad about that.
Oh, they got so mad about the fact it was a woman, she was young. Eh,
But
but
is she young though?
also, who cares? It's Tilda Swinton, and
Yeah.
the bitch can do no wrong.
And they even
No
make the
wrong.
joke themselves when that old guy is hanging about, and then Benedict's like, well, Strange is like, oh hello, and he just like wanders off.
Yeah. Yeah, there was hell on about it, but I don't care. It was
Do
it
you know
was
in
an amazing
comics as well that
performance.
that old guy with the one hand is supposed to be Wong's father? I
Yeah.
don't know if it comes up in the. I don't probably not in the
I don't think
movies,
it
but
comes up in this. Then we had a very small part by Benjamin Bratt. Now, I was really gutted that that's the role Benjamin Bratt's going to get in the MCU because I generally like him as an actor, and I was like, oh my God, there could have been so much more for you.
yeah,
Um, but no, no, it might not be. But obviously, the man, the myth, the absolute legend, Mads Mikkelsen, playing Caecilius is just
You said his name.
yeah.
Whoa.
Is just absolute, and I'm not even looking at it either. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But
Yeah.
something that Anth pointed out last night, that Mads Mikkelsen is slowly becoming the Sean Bean of the movie world because
Yeah.
he almost dies in everything.
Yeah, it's because no one can seem to cast him as anything other than like a really like slimy bad guy,
But
and
he
you're like,
does it so
he does, but he can also just do talking. Like it, like I could listen to him for like to like play any character. Um,
if Hannibal didn't go down the route or didn't portray a certain character the way they did, I would have stuck with that series for him and him alone because I
yeah,
feel he played an amazing Hannibal Lecter.
he
But
did.
I could not in good conscience and being a big Red Dragon fan continue with that series because they never got Will right. It was
Yeah,
that's
like
not my Will Graham.
I bounced off it when they started too much dream sequence stuff, and I'm like, I now can't tell what is real and what isn't, and therefore I'm questioning too much.
You
Like
don't
too distracting.
when it comes to Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, and that kind of world,
Yeah.
you shouldn't need to question a lot. It should just be very
Yeah.
psychologically. You can question some things, and you know,
But it
have a
shouldn't literally be like I am watching something and then they're gonna reverse it and say that
yeah,
didn't happen. And I'm like, God,
exactly.
God damn
No,
it.
so the cast is just absolutely phenomenal. I do in a way wish that it might not have been Mads who played him,
Just so he could have a different role
just so we could
somewhere.
have like a bigger permanent like
Yeah.
place in the MCU because he is that good. However, he is that good in this too. So it's like,
Yeah.
I can't have both.
Yeah. I really like that they actually give him a chance to talk. That makes sense for a villain as well. And like I just want to shout it out now, because he like wraps him up in that weird suit that stops him. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so now he's gonna talk to him. Whereas like in other movies, they'd just be like standing, like pacing around each other, like
Yeah,
chatting for no reason. Like,
no.
but yeah,
The thing is though with Caecilius, it's such a it's so deep. It's not a case of the man wants to end the world or run the world. He just wants to stop the pain. Caecilius is in
yeah,
so much pain. If you paid attention to his story at the beginning when he's first mentioned, is that he came to Comitage because he lost everything. He lost
mm,
everyone. He's in a constant state of grief and depression and pain that all he wants to do is end it, but still exist. So that's the kind of weird part of it all. Like I don't want to say
yeah,
like the villain part of it is that he wants his suffering to end, but he
yeah.
wants everyone else to go with him and for it to end.
And I don't think he thinks he's wrong in any way, or
No,
that what he's
no.
doing is bad because
Well, it doesn't
yeah,
help when you've got what's happening with the Ancient One happening at the same time, and he's like, "Well, if you're doing this, then why can't I do this?" And that's why he says at the beginning of the movie, "Hypocrite."
yeah, yeah. But what did you think about all the crazy like folding city business that happens?
It's
Like it
fine.
looks it looks amazing, but I'm like, how are the how do the characters in the world know where they're running? Like they're just jogging and being like, please don't fall away.
Um, it's fine on a 52-inch telly that's in my bedroom. I don't know how I would feel on the 75 one in the living
Oh,
room.
like
But in the cinema, I was a little bit like,
queasy.
yeah. I can't even watch Ant play Fortnite without being. I just feel crazy after watching
Yeah,
that.
true. But it's like I have no idea how like the visual effects artists did this, like, or how that comes out of someone's brain as
So
like a thought.
I was watching the end credit scenes because I was watching the credits go because I was obviously waiting for
Yeah.
the end credit scene. I couldn't be asked to find the remote to skip it. The amount of units that worked on this
Yeah.
movie alone. Like I always kind of look for costume and makeup names just to see if I recognize anyone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find them because there were just a sea of just visual effects for London, for New York, for Hong Kong. Like they
Mhm.
were all like, oh, there's so many names. So that, and then I was like, I can't even start to look into how they did this. I'm just gonna have to assume it's magic, um, because it sounds like a lot of people working on something to me is like that's some technical shit gone in there.
Yeah, it's possible there is some kind of like automatic part of the process. Like if they build a city, it's possible to have some kind of folding that, like
Mm,
program that can sort of
yeah.
generate this kind of thing. Because it did look like parts of it look like kaleidoscope and stuff, like when he's like flying through.
Yeah.
And the mirror dimension always has that kind of like fractured, like
I love
prism
that
sort of thing
sound.
going on the edge.
I love
Um,
that sound when it forms, that crackle and that.
yeah,
Oh, I love that. Mads Mikkelsen did say in an interview that this was probably one of the most technical movies that he's ever been involved in, and to the point
yes,
where it got very confusing for him. However, that was part of the enjoyment of it and
yeah,
the hard work, like
yeah. Because I
of
think
dealing with this new technology.
from what I could see, he does a few like wall running things which looked like wire work to me. Obviously, they'll be
Hmm.
like adding stuff in effects, but he probably was transitioning from like I'm on the wall now, like and I'm sort of
I'm on
keeping
the
on going.
floor, like
Um, but yeah, like I guess we'll just get into it then, because
yeah.
this is a fairly standard Marvel origin, which me and Sammy love. It's a formula that works.
It's the
Um,
blueprint. It's what
yeah,
I believe to be the blueprint of Marvel. It's Iron Man, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. It's the perfect origin story.
yeah, but it's like I think it's different enough in this one because we haven't had a good old mystical quest for a good long time in our superhero cinema. Not since Batman, I guess, hiked up
Yep.
to join the Ninja
S-
Clan.
So with the opening, we're in Comital. No, we're in Kathmandu, sorry.
Yeah,
However, right, when I saw this at the cinema, and obviously I went home and I was like, Anthony, you've got to watch this, got to see this. Let's
yeah.
find it. So we did in the northern way possible. The beginning of the movie, for some reason, had Britney Spears' Baby One More Time played in the background. We genuinely thought that was part of the film.
That was real.
Yeah, yeah, it's
uh,
deadly silent.
yeah, so like, yeah, you're right though. You basically see a book get stolen. That's all we know. The ancient one's a hypocrite. And then we just flash forward to Stephen
Strange.
Strange doing his
That's
thing.
that's right. Yeah. So firstly, Kathmandu, Caecilius and Nizelis steal a book, kill a librarian, have a little bit of a tete-a-tete with a hooded figure,
Mhm.
and we then go to Strange in New York City.
Yeah,
And yeah, he's arrogant, he's egotistical, but he's
he's doing his
brilliant.
yeah, he's one of those like asshole, but he's really good guys. So he's like, hot shot. He's answering quiz questions while he's, doing sort of like minor surgeries. And then he like goes freehand on a dangerous bullet job, doesn't he? Where he's like, no, I can get the bullet out. It's fine.
Because I'm Doctor Strange.
Yeah. And we kind of get a weird look in, which I'm assuming is like an American part of surgery where they'll only take on jobs that they think they can like have a win on. Like,
Mm,
they don't want to
he might.
they don't want to take on a botch job because he gets like a couple try and reject him when he's asking for surgery. And I'm wondering, is
Yeah.
that like oh, this is a business, this thing? It's
Oh God, yeah. Like America's
yeah,
very different from us because it is business, it's privatized.
yeah.
It is money involved. So probably. I
But
mean,
our lad's up for a surgery award, which is nice for him.
oh yeah.
But he never gets there.
Did you know that this is
No.
the first Marvel movie to come with a warning?
Oh, is it has a dangerous driving warning somewhere, doesn't it?
It's right at the end of the. So I know this because I watched the credits last night. The last thing that
Yeah.
said is driving distracted is dangerous. Please be careful on the roads.
Yes, because he looks at his text. He starts
Yeah.
looking at images that he got texted through.
Yep. Yep. As he's driving back. I mean, obviously, sorry, before we go through, so we meet Christine, who does play a huge part
Yeah.
in Stranger's life, and clearly it's indicated that they were once lovers.
Yeah.
But it really don't play on how big a part they were in each other's lives, and it's not until you see him with the watch you
Yes.
realize it's a lot deeper than what we've been led to believe.
It's never like said out loud.
No.
It's for us to pick up with like the visual cues, which is
Hmm.
nice for a Marvel film because you'd think there would have been a thing where like, in a lesser movie, like someone would have picked it up in his room, been like, "What's this?" Like Wong or whatever, and he'd be like, "Give me that back. That's this
Mm,
very special watch." We just have to pick it up from context clues that it has like a love message engraved on it, I think, or
mhm.
inside the
It's
thing.
yeah, it's like time will only tell
Mhm.
how much I love you.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's like stopped in time to sort of signify his old life being
gone,
gone forever.
gone,
Um,
but not really.
no, he's got a wonderful new life full of
Which is very
adventure.
similar to his last one when you really think about it. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so he has his accident, and we go through with Strange his oh God, when he wakes
it's
up,
horrible, isn't it?
oh, and he wakes up and he sees hands, and you know the best part about the detail in this movie is that throughout we constantly see Strange's hands because it
Yes.
indicates he's not okay because his hands are not okay, and that's been
Mhm.
prime thing to sort out since the accident. You still see all the marks
Yeah,
of what was left on him. That is detail. I don't
yeah,
know whether that is shown later on, but you don't really get to see his hands later on. Like in other movies, I'm not paying attention to his hands, but I did certainly in this one.
yeah. Like, and I think it's up there with like Charlie Cox's Daredevil acting, where he's technically acting with an impairment. Like like Benedict keeps up this sort of shaky hands, like
Hmm.
throughout in any movie where he comes back.
Yeah.
Obviously, when he's in an action scene, it's like, well,
Well, because he's drawn
you
from the art, he's drawn from his, as we know, draws
yeah,
from the magic, and that kind of like help that
yeah, but you
centers
wouldn't
his
you wouldn't
hands.
notice it in the moment. But again, that's kind of part of like living with a disability. Like you can't, like, at a certain point it disappears in certain acts and stuff, and you're
Hmm.
like, he's almost back in control when he's like using his magic. But I do
Yeah.
like that we get to see a journey where he starts off very sloppy with the magic, and then over time, like, the lines become straighter
Yeah.
and less like frayed and stuff.
He's still not perfect. I love that. I love the fact that doesn't he's not perfect all the way through. He
No,
still
he gets his
manages to
ass
mess
kicked
up.
quite a lot
But
in this one.
when he's on his journey of trying, because there's a lot of people who do turn him away from getting,
Yeah.
he looks into some of the craziest surgeries to get, because he has to have this life back. He has to be celebrated. He has to be the
Yes.
best. He has gone his whole career being top dog that he can't stand to be at the bottom. And he learns about a patient of his called Jonathan Pangborn, who went through the same rejections
Mhm.
that he has had. He was paraplegic. He was completely from the spot. I think he had like a severed spine.
I think it said
And
from the chest down when he goes to meet him.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. That makes the ending so much worse. So when he meets Jonathan, he's like, how did you, how you should not be walking.
Mhm.
You are oh, how does he word it? It's like you were not meant to be standing in front of me.
Yeah.
You were completely incurable. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, I went to a person, but
Yeah. He doesn't give him like an exact roadmap. He's like, I went up, had some people carry me up some mountains, did like some soul searching. And he's like, yeah, I found this place called, is it Kamatage?
yeah. Um, but yeah, he's Benjamin Bratt is so, I just love him.
Yeah.
I just wish he would be in a more. So
I
then he
know he
goes,
gets absolutely gets short shrift and then absolutely disrespected at the end of this one.
yeah,
But we'll get there.
yeah,
I do like Benedict, like, you know, homeless looking Benedict on the run in like I can't remember where he goes exactly. Where is it supposed to be?
Camotage is doesn't say.
I'm sure you mentioned it before, but don't worry about it.
Oh,
But basically,
Kathmandu.
yeah, Kathmandu. So it's basically like a mystical place that doesn't technically exist on our plane. Like, no one, he's asking about it and no one's giving him much information.
Hmm.
And we don't see it, but we're like, he's left his life behind to do this. He's just kind of ran off without telling anyone what he's doing.
Yeah,
Um,
he basically he says I've spent my last dime,
One way ticket. Yeah, he
one way
does, doesn't he?
ticket. Like
Yep.
this was the be all and end all.
Yep.
He ain't coming back.
And he gets noticed by a little Baron Mordor.
Yeah, Mordor saves his butt because he's going about to have his watch stolen.
Yes, the last thing he's got.
Yeah, the last thing that he has to home and to Christine. And yeah, Mordor comes and saves his ass. and says, I understand you're looking for Kamatage. Why don't
Yeah.
you come along with me?
And it and it's odd because it doesn't follow your normal like format where normally it would be hard for him to get in the first time. He'd have to like pass some trial or something. He gets welcomed in.
He
And
gets shown.
he's like, yes, thank you for like the tea and everything. And you're like, uh, but when he meets the ancient one, he does not take it very well, being told that you can heal the spirit, and then in turn it helps
Body.
heal the body in some form. Um, and he guns off it, as we'd say up north.
He goes absolutely ape on this one. He goes absolutely akka.
Yeah.
That's Northern akka. But he loses his mind over this because he is a man of medicine. He's a man of science.
Yes.
He's not a man of magic. He's not a man of chakras. He's not a man of, the. To him, this is completely and utterly ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
stupid. It's beneath him, even though he is shown
Yeah.
he is physically shown what she can do, and he still has a fucking problem with it.
He met the man. Yeah, that was the miracle man. He's already met him and proved
Yeah,
it was.
but
um,
he
yeah,
still
he,
can't.
he
He
tries
still
to.
can't let science out of his head.
Yeah, he tries to like logic it out by being like, oh, you've got some kind of like crazy tech like that can reprogram cells to like repair themselves. He's like, oh, you're doing it out here because there's no government oversight, and you can, like, and she's just
Hmm.
like, how about you look at this book? Have you seen this map before? And he's like, yeah, at the gift shop and something. Like,
Yeah,
you can see his face drop as he sort
it's her
of.
face. It's her face all the way through it, all the
He's
way through that
loving it.
interaction. She is loving this. She is loving the fact that she manages to prove by knocking him into an astral plane, like
Oh
having
yeah,
his body, like his soul leave his body, he still has an issue with it. And she's like, "Do you know what? Get out. Just
yeah.
get out."
Which I really like because I'm like, yeah, he was super disrespectful.
He would, yeah. It's what blows my mind is that he is literally shown the way. He is like, this is how we can do that. She's like, I can make you do things you'd never be able to dream about doing, even if your hands remain the same way that they are now.
Yeah,
Still, no. But apparently something must have stayed with him because he stays at the door. Even though
yeah.
he's
He,
shown it, he stays outside on the other side, banging away.
he has instant regret, and they just let him stew for 5-ish hours and then let him back in. Very much.
She does, but this is where she really shows him. Now she just
Oh,
give him a taste.
you know what? Actually, we don't know it, but I think the reason he gets kicked out is because he basically accidentally quotes, is it Caecilian?
Oh, he
Um,
does say something that Caecilia says, yeah.
yeah, something that he says later. So obviously, Strange doesn't know this, but I think
No.
he's used like similar phrasing, and she's like, "You're bad news, get out," sort of
Yeah.
thing. Because he
You
says
will go down the route of Caecilia, so
he
no.
says like he says the thing about them being like an insignificant like dust speck in the universe, like, you can't, like, we're just ants,
Yeah.
like insignificant. And she's more like, no, we are significant, all life is magic and cool, and join our
Mm.
hippie cult.
Join our cult. Yeah, she does. But when he come, that's absolutely right. She did kick him out for that reason. Now, but only so he had the taste of being put into the astral plane. When he
Yes.
second time around, she chucks him into other dimensions.
Yeah.
Now, this is some trippy Steve Ditko shit that goes
Uh-huh.
on right here.
Gives him
And
the old open your mind.
you know what I would have loved in this moment? Because if you're a Doctor Strange fan, you know that he has the third eye, and
Yeah.
we know that later on that happens. Now that does happen
Yeah.
quite a bit in the comics, as it just comes out of nowhere. I'm no good with eyes. Learned that when I watched First Contact, the Star Trek movie. Don't do eyes, but I can kind of get away with this one.
Yeah.
Um, I wish they'd opened that up just for a second, just while he was in there, just like showing that it
Yes.
was there. I think that might, I don't know if that would be a good touch or I'm just like kind of overthinking it because I'm a fan.
Yeah, true. But yeah, there's no visual, but she does put a thumb right there, right where it would show it, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, she goes
Um,
because she goes open it's your third eye. Um, the the hand scene that can get
oh
in the
God,
bin.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, he's flying through all the dimensions, some that we've seen before because he flies through the quantum realm at some point.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, he ends up in this weird cave that's made of his faces, and then all hands grow out of the walls, and then the the baby hands grow out of his fingers, which
And
grow
then
more
oh,
baby hands.
hands and hands. Oh my god, it's horrible. It reminds me of Labyrinth. Um,
Yeah,
don't no,
this
no, don't
movie
like that.
loves hands.
Yes, but oh, gosh, yeah, that whole thing was crazy. That's what he needed. Not being
Yeah,
knocked into the astral plane is
yeah.
being knocked into the another
So
dimensions.
I wrote down like the odd quote here because yeah, this is our first sort of mention of the multiverse because like while he's flying through, he's getting voiceover and she's like, some of these universes are like, full of wanton evil and malice.
Mhm.
Others are benevolent and life-giving. And then she says, like, this universe is one of an infinite number of like worlds without end. And like that's the first time we're literally told to our faces that there is, infinite Marvel worlds out there with infinite superheroes and combinations of stuff. And that's big.
That is huge. That is huge. There's so much groundwork that's been put into this movie that I didn't even realize until on rewatch and obviously researching.
Yeah.
So that's smart. Nice one, Kevin Feige.
And so he gets accepted. I love this little joke when Mordo gives him the thing that says like Shangri-La or something. He's like, "What is
Shambhala.
this?" Yeah, what is this? My mantra? And then he's like, "It's the Wi-Fi password."
We're
We're
not
not sabotage.
savages.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This movie does have decent comedy. I'll say it's up there. Like it's maybe not like Guardians level writing, but it's certainly better than some like Iron Man lines we've had like over time.
Yeah, where
Um,
Tony makes you want to your toes like cringe
yeah.
so much your toes curl around. Yeah.
The
Um,
Stranger's got this running gag of where he's trying to make Wong laugh, and trying to figure out how to break him, like
it's
which
the
combinations of jokes will
well,
work on him.
Stranger's training into the magic arts doesn't go so well to start with.
No.
Obviously, the hands are a problem, and it does become something that he can't kind of like get out of his head.
Yeah,
Um,
he's all sputtery and stuff, isn't he, with his
yeah, he
little
can't even form. He can't even form
marks.
lines. So I love the part. I love it when she's where she's like, right, okay, this has got to end. It's got to be it's got to be life or death with him. So let's put him in a death situation. And she sends him to Everest, the top of Everest.
Yeah, where he's got what 30 seconds before his body is gonna start shutting down.
Yeah, but he gets
It's it.
there.
It's in. We don't see how he like
But
focuses
we
or
have,
anything. We
but we
just see
have to
the other
think.
side.
Yeah, we have. It's how nervous she gets, and it's the fact that Moro turns around and goes, "Oh God, not again."
Yeah, yeah. This is the nuclear button if you want to
Yeah, if you want,
knock
if you want
someone
to,
into action.
exactly. Yeah, we don't need to see him. We just need to
Yeah,
know that he did it, and
and
this is where
yeah,
it changes for him.
yeah, and we get like some chatting about how the magic works and stuff because like she basically shows him there's a guy with one hand and he can do it perfectly. He does this like amazing
Yeah,
shape thing, and yeah, she says basically the harness energy drawn from other dimensions of the multiverse to cast spells because
yeah.
she's kind of like trying to explain it in terms he'll understand. She's like, people call it spells, you might call it like the source code of life, like the sort of, if he wants to like link it back to a computer in some
Hmm.
way or like an equation. She gives him an option to kind of get his head around it. Um and I think like I didn't realize until I watched like the new Rockstars thing, there's a lot of Matrix references in this movie and a lot of similarities in the sort of like, it's like a modern day have to learn mystical magic arts, and like, yeah, I totally see it, but I didn't see it at the time.
No, no. He's so that when he's after he's had this experience, the training really begins, and
Yeah.
he really does focus on the mind part of it,
Mm-hmm.
where he is because he knows his strengths, and his strength is his mind and his photographic memory.
Yeah.
So he goes and starts learning everything.
Yeah, and I think like it doesn't say it outright, but this is probably how he learned to be a surgeon, was just like absorb all the books and then go for it, because that is mentioned when he's like, how did you get to be the best surgeon? He's like, I studied for years, and kind of like wink and a nod, like, well, that's what you'll have to do again.
Yeah. And
um
this is when he meets Wong. The
yeah, because he's
now
taking his library books back.
Yeah, the Wong is now the new librarian because after Kaiseri has killed the last one, Wong is
Yeah.
now taken over and he's like, he won't kill me because he'll have to, have to get past me first before he gets in here. And we see this magnificent library of and I think this is where Wong's kind of like he is a bit impressed by him because he
Yeah.
reads the books that he's handing back in and he's like, oh shit. And you understood this? Okay, then let me go and get something a bit more advanced.
Yeah,
And
how's
you
your
see
ancient Sanskrit? And he's like, have Google Translate.
But you also see the Ancient One's private collection.
Oh yes, the
And
changed ones.
these are the dark art ones. These are the ones that where Caecilius has taken pages out of in order to perform the ritual that he wants to do
Yeah, and this is
later
like,
on.
this is kind of what like breaks Strange's like thought process a bit. Like he's not the kind of guy to be like, you betrayed me, ancient one. But he's being like, well, if she can read these books, then I'm allowed to read them. Because he's like, hang on, I thought there was no hidden knowledge, like I thought everything was shared. And
Mhm.
Wong's like, no, there's no secrets, but there is like levels, like, like these are too advanced for you, type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. We don't
um
hide anything here, but we
but
also have a level of like respect
yeah,
for it.
yeah, and so we kind of find out Strange is like, well, the rules need to make sense, otherwise I'm not going to follow them. So he
Hmm.
starts stealing books so he can
Yeah.
have more. This is also where he cleans himself up as well, and we get classic Strange look, with the
That
handlebar and
ooh,
the full
that
goatee.
look. My one of my favorite parts in this is the fight with Mordor, and he's
Yeah.
training fighting because we actually see an incredible relic that is probably one of the most powerful relics in the Marvel Comics universe, and it is completely downplayed. It is the Staff of the Living Tribunal, and
Yeah.
Mordor is using it, and it's so fucking powerful. And um, yeah, there is so many relics in this movie. We have the Staff of the Living Tribunal, we have the Eye of Agamotto, we have the Cloak of Levitation, which ones that you're very familiar with. The Crimson Bands of, I'm going to say this correctly,
Surtax.
Siratak is the caged thing
Yeah.
that goes over him.
Which I think it's like a spell, isn't it? In the comics, more like
Yeah,
a sort of red wraparound thing.
yeah,
But
wraps.
is that also the Juggernaut's uh deity?
Oh, maybe I can't remember.
I thought he got his like power from like the Crimson Gem of Sitarax or whatever.
Oh, maybe I'm not very clued up on the X-Men. Um,
He's not a mutant. That's the
oh,
secret
is that
there.
why? All right.
That's why he's
Um,
got a magic gem.
Oh, well, we've
Yeah,
got the sorry, there's more. The Amulet of Power, the the Brazier of Bum Goliath, which is
yes.
which is what you the joke that's later on is like, do you know what you have there? No. Do you know how to use it? Nope, that's good. Let's carry on.
Yeah. He just tries to
And
bonk him with it.
yeah, we've got the Ebony Blade and the Machini. Oh my gosh, why are these so hard to say? Machina di Cadavasso.
Oh, interesting.
Looks like a gem.
Okay. Well, there's like one other thing, which I don't know if it's a spell or what, but he's like Mordo's like, and the vaulting boots of Valtor. And like he's just like,
They
that's a
are
mouthful.
I feel like they are a relic.
And
I always remember them being a relic.
the thing is, he uses it to like Star Lord uses it to like run across the sky at some point. So I don't know if it's like a thing you cast on your boots or someone else's boots. But yeah, it's like so they can like hop about the sky on the circles.
With the
It's
little
fun.
booties on. Yeah, I forgot about these boots. But it's because I was just so enamored by
I love relics and stuff. That's always some of my
oh, it
favorite
was just
parts of fantasy.
the staff it's just the staff of the living tribunal.
Yeah, so this is the first mention of the Living Tribunal, who is kind of like the cosmic judge, jury, and executioner, like a three-headed being that pops up, but they're like, on like God level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unclear if this is actually like a piece of them or if in the MCU it's just like named after a higher power or something.
All I know is that we never see it again.
Yeah, yeah, no, not at all.
No,
And they've never been mentioned again, I don't think.
no, none of the apart from the Eye of Agamotto, which is around Strange's neck.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's Infinity Stone.
Yeah, so it's kind of downplayed as like it's just a housing for an Infinity Stone. I don't think we hear in this movie either, but Agamotto was like the guy who invented this mystic art form. I
We
don't know
did.
if they say it,
Wong
but
explains it. Wong
yeah,
goes into a history lesson on Agamotto and how he created the three sanctums: New
yes, okay,
York,
yeah.
London, and Hong Kong. And that's the Eye of Agamotto.
And he obviously had this eye, which gave him, stone
Why the
powers.
eyes, man? Why eyes?
It's I
No.
love it. It's really cool the way he opens it though with his little hand thing and then sort of like opens out and then
Oh,
it
I
looks
wish I
really
had
good.
I wish I had the strength. Like I talk a lot with my hands. I don't know. It's a natural thing for me to talk a lot. I only do it when my nails are long.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
We
I just want to hide them.
yeah, but we can't do hand sigils.
No,
Not yet anyway.
I'm not. No, I'm not. Maybe as time goes on, I might get better. But not right now. So yeah, they've had the fight. I wanted to bring the fight up because obviously I wanted to talk about um
The relics.
the relics. And do we
I think this is where Caecilius kind of crashes the party and they all get like split off into different portals and stuff.
well before that, just before that, that's where Strange does work out the Eye of Agamotto and how it works.
Yeah, oh yeah, and he does a little test of the time
Which
powers, doesn't
is
he?
very foreshadowing. Need to see this.
Yes.
We need to know this. We need to know that this is how it works.
Yeah, because I think people got a bit confused as to how Thanos like reversed vision and only vision, but it seems to be it's like a focused time manipulation.
Which I didn't realize until on rewatch
Yeah.
because he takes Caecilius out of the loop and
Mhm.
puts him into the fight, and I think he does that inadvertently. I don't think he's meant to do that. I think it was an accident.
Yeah, yeah. It's but that's the thing with this movie, you can't really tell what was like intentional and not with Doctor
No,
Strange.
but that's it, and I think that's a brilliant part about him because
Yeah.
he's not perfect.
Yeah, he like if he makes the wrong sigil, like who knows what happens next.
Yeah, so he learns about so he's learned how to do the Eye of Agamotto,
He
and
thinks
this
it's like
is
nothing but like Mordo and Wong running like what the hell? You like stop that. You can't mess with time.
only because he does it with an apple at first,
Yeah.
realizes what he can do with the apple and how far he can take it. So he then takes the book that had the missing pages out of it, and he
Yeah.
manages to reverse it to where he can see the pages. And with
Photographic memory that
yep, you got it. He knows it.
and
Or
this is
he
where
knows what he's read. He doesn't understand it.
yeah, but he's like starting to put together like, oh, this is why the ancient one is ancient, because she's using this part of the ritual to kind of have an unnatural life. Because they mention like because he starts asking questions about her, and Mordo's like, well, all we know is like she's a Celtic, like from the ancient times, and that's it.
Mhm.
And so that's strange, like starting pulling at threads and being like, ah, okay, okay, I'm starting to connect things up here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of it's a lot of action from now on because like I say, Caecilius kind of bombs Kamitage basically. People get knocked into portals and end up at the different sanctums. Um,
So London is attacked.
yes, yep,
The no, the London sanctum is attacked, and the door bursts open, and it's one of their guys, followed by Caecilius and his crew.
the zealots. Um, but yeah, so we get a little bit of running around in London, just a tiny bit, don't we? Like in the streets.
Very small part.
Yeah, and then but it's mainly focused on the New York sanctum because that's where
Because it's Stranger's
yeah.
home.
And yeah, he gets like Caecilius is nuts though, because he can kind of like fold the sort of the geometry of wherever he is. And
Oh,
it's
that.
like and apparently he's not supposed to do that outside the mirror realm, but he doesn't care at this point.
Yeah.
So you're running away from him, and he like makes the hallway extra long, and like the tiles start like rolling back
That
and
is a
things.
that is a very horror trope right there.
Yeah,
Is that part? I did recognize that. And what I loved about it was that, and what I love about the fact that Benedict Cumberbatch is once again playing a character who has an associate in a dress with the character.
yeah.
So you got Baker Street and Bleecker Street.
Yes, and there's also some funny stuff around his name, like where he's like
Oh,
Mister,
his
and then he's like, I'm Doctor. He's like Mr. Doctor. He's
doctor.
like,
It's the
it's
yeah.
strange. Yeah,
the
but
the,
whatever.
in, the interaction between Caecilius and Doctor Strange, because he's so adamant he is still a doctor, so
Yeah,
he will be referred to as Doctor Strange.
yeah,
I love the interaction between him and Caecilius, and the fact that he keeps calling him Mr. Doctor.
for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like this is where he gets the cape, and we said before, he gets trapped in the crimson whatever of whatever
Oh,
whatever Sammy said.
the Crimson Bands of Cyturok.
Brooms and bar. I guess. But yeah, so this is where we get the villain speech and kind of find out that the Dormammu is name dropped. He's technically I picked it up. He's name dropped in the chanting before, where they're all stood around in a creepy circle. They are being like Dormammu, blah blah blue, do do do, doing a ritual.
So they didn't do the whole "I've come here to bargain."
No, and we find out that he's a giant head, a giant flaming head sometimes, but he's kind of just a weird mirror thing. And he dwells in the dark dimension, which has no concept of time, apparently, which means life and death don't exist in opposites. It's just, energy, I guess,
He's
is what they're trying.
also he's also Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Just because he's a decent voice actor, is our Benedict.
Well, not just that, he's also done the motion sensor for it when he did Smaug in The Hobbit. So
Yeah,
he did that before, and Scott Derrickson loved the idea that hero and villain were played by the same person.
yeah, but it's not like they don't like knock you over the head with it. Like, look, it's your mirror, like
Yeah,
Dark
like
Strange,
yeah,
which we get
absolutely.
later.
Before we
Um,
get to Dormammu, though,
yeah.
we
Oh yeah,
do
we're just
get
talking about him now. Yeah.
we do get an epic fight scene, which does leave Strange wounded, to the point where he manages to get the aid of Christine, which
Yes.
I love this sequence. I love the operating part of it, where he is in his astral plane and still having a fight, and there's little bits moving around the room.
And he's
It
kind of being like, what are you doing? Just like do that thing, and then like, please don't kill me. So
it reminds me so much of Ant-Man, the train
yeah,
sequence where you see it's a huge epic fight, and then but all you see in normal size is the train just going.
yeah. It's just like the medical tray like shaking a little bit.
Yeah, like little
Um.
things shaking about
So there's like a weird part of this where he uses the defibrillators to
to
sort of
zap energy
yeah,
into. I don't know how that would work with like
unless it's
your
like
soul.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say like we're probably thinking into it a bit too deeply, but it
A
could
hundred
possibly
percent
be.
we are.
It could be like it's like jogging his like life energy back into him, I guess.
However way it worked, we killed
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
And he is somewhat healed. And as he says his goodbyes to Christine, like he kind of like I think he has his closure moment here, where he's like, oh
yeah.
no, he has that later on.
Well,
That
yeah.
comes later.
I mean, she
Um,
doesn't get much closer because she's like, you join a cult, and he's like, no, no, we do this thing. It's like, it sounds like a cult. And
Yeah,
then he's
and then
like,
he's like explaining it to us, saying, "Well, there's a dimension portal
yeah,
in this cupboard," and she was like, "All right, okay, well then don't tell us."
the
And
mop
he's like,
closet. Yeah.
the mop. So when the portal closes and the
Yeah,
mop falls behind her and she screams, that
yeah.
was an accident. That isn't, and they kept it in because
It's
that's her
good.
it's her genuine reaction.
It's really good. So that's her sort of last closure, I
No,
guess.
it's not.
No, when she
Later
comes
on,
back. Oh, I
the
can't
ancient
remember.
one.
Yes, okay, sorry, yep, got it.
We
Got it,
still
got it, got
we
it.
still have more Christine to come.
Okay. But yeah, I think this is where we go back to New York, and then Stranger's like, I know, I'll trap you in the mirror dimension. And then Kaisilian's like, oh hell yeah, I love the mirror dimension. And like Baron's like, oh no, the powers of like magnified tenfold in here. And this is where he starts like folding New York, and you get like the impossible highways and stuff with the cars like driving off the side and coming back up. Um,
And
and
what
this is
else do
where
we
we
get in this moment?
Stanley Lever. um,
Yep.
he was reading. He's on a bus, laughing at this book, which is called "The Doors of Perception," which is apparently an old psychedelic book about a guy describing a drug trip, and it's kind of like seen. It's like the text that inspired a lot of the sort of strange
Oh,
storytelling and that kind of like psychedelic stuff back then.
and he
Um,
would know. He wrote it.
yeah, but he's like, haha, this is hilarious for some reason.
Hey, he's living life, and it's nice to see Stanley living life at this
Yeah.
moment.
And like this is where we get like what I like to call the fighting game portion. Because for one thing, Caecilian looks a bit like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
I get that.
Um, for the other thing, they create themselves a circular fighting arena out of like parts of like New York stations and like landmarks where it's got like half the writing on, and they're just on this flying disc like in Soul Calibur having a
Yeah,
fight.
we get a third person into the ring, into the fight.
Mm,
We get the ancient one herself
yeah, with a hood
coming.
down this time so you can
Oh,
see the bad symbol on her forehead.
yes, it was because they were like, "Look, she's got it. She's one of them," and it's like,
Yeah.
well, oh, all right, calm down. Maybe she's got a good explanation for it because clearly her methods have not been for bad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be corrupt, you'd be bad, and then you clearly not. She's used it for good, and this is Mordor's problem: is the black and white of it all.
He wants
He
to
just
follow the rules like to the T.
Oh,
Like,
you can't go against natural law.
yeah.
Well, you can and you have to, and sometimes things have to be bent, and this is the point that the Ancient One is trying to make
Mm,
by doing this, is that sometimes we may have to do things outside of, you know, what
yeah.
we've
And
I don't know
the
how to
see
say it, like not preach, but you know what I mean.
yeah, but like and also like she never says like she actually actively says it's like a bad life to do this,
Yeah,
to like siphon energy from the dark dimension. So it like it's but it's the other guys see it as like, oh, this is her, she wants to live forever. And it's like she's not really like exploiting the long life thing other than to teach more people by what we see.
yeah.
Um so yeah, Mordor's attitude's a bit strange when you kind of like apply some logic to it, but I guess he's not applying logic. He's just like, this is the way it should be, and I'm going to enforce it or be mad and run off. Um, Unfortunately, she gets her ass kicked and
Yeah, she
takes
got
a horrible spill off the side of like a building,
she gets
basically,
stabbed. She
and
gets
through.
stabbed first and then gets planted through a building. And that landing,
It's awful, isn't it?
oh, that landing, she goes through a glass plate thing and
Mm-hmm.
then lands poof, on you
Yeah,
hear the impact, and everyone's reaction around is like, shit, they saw that.
and it looks good. Like it doesn't look like your generic, CGI through a window. Like it's brutal. And yeah, she gets rushed to surgery.
Yeah.
To
Like
try
to
and
who Christine? It's that Christine.
yeah, you just I do like when movies do this, by the way. Like how people are like that, yeah, that would call the police if a man ran into the hospital.
Mhm.
I don't care. It's a magical superhero movie. Like I
No.
don't want there to be those kind of barriers. I want the barriers to be from the real
Yeah.
stakes. um, and he used to work there, so maybe it's believable. But yeah, they can't save her, and we get this like really cool moment where they
Oh,
both astral project together.
he watches her do it. He
And he kind
he
of like he
watches
has
her
to
leave and he
chase her.
follows.
And we find out that she's got some kind of like premonition powers, and she's like, I've never been able to see past this point. Um, and she's
But
like,
everything's led me to this point.
yeah, and she's like, I'm clearly not as okay with it as I thought I'd be, because here I am sort of slowing
Spinning a
down
yarn.
the second, like, making the second last forever.
Yeah.
Um, and we get a little hint as to Stranger's path, where she's like, you want to hear about your future, don't you? And he doesn't really say anything. She's like,
Well,
I'll
this
tell
is
you,
a
like, kind of
this
thing.
is the spoiler for Infinity War, because
Yeah,
as
yeah.
she's dying, the Ancient One mentions that she's foreseen all of the possible futures which all lead to her death and no further. She then tells Strange that she also saw the possibilities of his future. It is most evident that she had used the Time Stone to calculate the possibility futures for herself
Mhm,
and for Strange for the Avengers Infinity War. Strange himself used the Time Stone to foresee all the possible future regarding the war against Thanos.
mhm.
So they've both used the same technique and seen the same possibilities.
Yeah. And
I
it's,
didn't quite pick up on that. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've read that from information I found,
yeah.
but when I was watching it, because I was like I should be able to pick up on this. I've seen Infinity War a million times, and
Mhm.
I didn't get what I got that she's looked at his path and knows he
Yeah.
will come the Sorcerer Supreme. Like that is his destiny.
And also, I'm pretty sure she mentioned something like where his path is like isn't revealed to her, like,
No,
sort of
uh-huh.
thing. Or she's like, there's a limit to how much she can see of what Strange is, but she's like, I know you'll do like great good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely on the cards, I suppose. Because she probably would try that, to be like, oh well, if I could save some lives by having a clearer grasp on what's going to happen.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe this is where Strange got the idea in his head from, like, that's a possibility. I might need that at some point.
Yeah, that kind of like plants a seed.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that's how I saw it. Like what she said, planted a seed in his head, like as in he will remember this for when he needs it the most,
yeah.
and that
But it's
might
a
not
nice
just
moment,
apply.
and she like shows some humanity and sort of holds his hand in the last moment, and it's like, oh, she does have a heart.
And then the hand disappears, which means that she
Yeah,
is now
yeah,
gone.
at
Don't worry though,
peace.
we get
Yeah,
to see each other soon later on.
and she's the ancient one, so this is fine for
She's a
someone like
source,
that.
yeah, and she's a sorcerer supreme, which means that
Yeah.
the position is now vacant.
For Wong.
Well, Strange gets it first.
Yeah.
Wong gets it later. That's much later down the line.
But yeah, so yeah, this is our sad sort of get everyone back together.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
that's the Hulk.
I was gonna say, like, the music isn't great in this film. There's nothing like memorable
I
really.
I do like Strange's music. Strange has his own score in this, which is identifiable to him.
Oh,
Um,
it didn't stick out enough for me. Maybe I'll catch it in the second one.
I enjoy Strange's theme.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
yeah, so he's had his heart to heart. He's been told, like, the world doesn't revolve around you. There's greater things at play. Step up, Strange.
yeah,
Because they do get into, like, oh, you could go back to your old life, you could fix your hands, and it's like, but the world would be worse off. And he's like, hmm.
and this is what you get. This is what you get from Jonathan's characters. He had the same everything that Strange has been given.
Mhm,
Jonathan was given exactly the same, but he chose to harness his power and his magic in a different way. So he's offered the same path.
mhm. Yeah.
You can go back to your old life. You can go and be the surgeon that you so desperately want. That he just wants to keep his ego intact, and unfortunately it's been broken a lot. And I was reading earlier how Scott Derrickson was saying, like, his life is full of trauma.
Mhm,
No, it's not. It was a unfortunate accident that happened to a great man, not a great man, but like a man who had great abilities.
yeah.
Yes, it's trauma in a sense of the accident and everything, but there was so much that could have come out of it. I see more trauma in Caecilius than I
Mhm,
do in Strange. I don't know if it's because one is so deep and so impactful and that I can kind of understand, and one isn't.
I
I've
think
not been
like
put in a position like Strange before.
no, I like that reading because I think like I think Caecilius his is tragedy,
Hmm.
and Doctor Strange is almost like ironic punishment, like oh your hands have been taken away, the one thing that made you special, because
Of you thought made you special.
yeah, because you were arrogant.
Hmm.
And it's a very good like trope of like the sort of martial arts, like forget everything, like the
Hmm.
thing that makes you special is like, it's not what you think, and if you discover it, you'll be the best. And yeah, this is where we kind of go into our final act. We got one more big fight left because Caecilius wants to destroy all the sanctums, which will break the shield on the world, allowing Dormammu to either cross over or start taking people over. I'm not sure what
We didn't
what
quite, we didn't
exactly.
quite, well, we didn't quite get there.
Yeah,
But we got the London Sanctum's gone, New York one is gone, and Hong Kong was last. And by the time we get there, it's gone. And
yeah,
so is Wong. So is the majority of this street in Hong Kong. Like we see it beforehand, all
yes,
peaceful and living, and people like I can imagine the smells in that street would have been unreal.
yeah.
Um,
We get like a frozen fried rice shot, don't we? At some point.
that's when he stops time because he has this another face to face with Caecilius who is just looking phenomenal. Like
Oh, he's got
he
his full black eyes, like
it's
tears
the
of
it's the
black.
purple. Did you see him when he is having this when he is in that big chambery thing?
Yeah,
He's crying. There's
yeah.
tears dropping down his face. Like Mads Mikkelsen put so much into this character that you kind of like on first watch would just go, "That's Mads Mikkelsen. He's cool as fuck." Like, but on a rewatch, it's honestly his performance is so meaningful and so deep. His character is so complex. Like I love a complex villain.
I think that's
Um,
what separates like the real good Hollywood people from just the people who can like just about pull it together.
it's them
Some
tears where
people are
you
on a different level.
it's the tears of uncontrollable, like where they just lie on the bottom and you
Yeah,
can't
because he,
stop
he
them.
doesn't because he doesn't crack his voice or anything, not
No.
much anyway. Like that's the kind of like the nuance you're getting here.
Well, Strange does it himself as well when he at the end when the ancient one is gone and he's you can see it, his
Mm,
eyes are filling up as she holds his hand and then when she's gone they just drop
mm.
and the cloak little the cloak when the cloak wipes his tears away because sorry
Yeah,
during the middle of this, he managed to get the cloak of levitation, which obviously you will reference to Strange if you know Strange.
yeah,
And
and it's
this
kind of like
cloak,
his magic carpet from Aladdin.
it's his buddy.
Yeah,
He's so cool. But yeah, he wipes his tears away. That was something Benedict wanted added in. He was like, it would be such a cool touch if the like just
yeah, because he kind of is like get off like type of thing, like it's sort of
anyway.
instinctual.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do have a line in the middle where they're like, the cloak levitation, it's a very fickle being, so it's like picked him out of everyone. Like it doesn't have
He's
many friends.
but oh my god, when he has that guy wrapped in the when the cloak wraps itself around that guy and he's
Yeah,
just bashing him off the floor, I'm like, wow.
that's one thing actually I forgot to mention that I wrote down as really enjoying. It's like the first time we've seen one of our Marvel heroes actually feel bad about taking a life, because he's like that's against like the Hippocratic
Him.
oath, like I swore to do no harm. Like he actually is shaken up about it. I mean,
But
it almost takes him out of the game, but he kind of like
well, he has
stays
no
in
choice. He
the
has no
war.
choice. He kind of has
Yeah.
no choice of the matter. But this is all what the ancient one has been trying to get across to people that
Mhm.
you can't bend the rules. You can't break the rules.
Yeah, and
It
so
doesn't
like
have to be as black and white as what we have been thought it needs to be. And this is the same for
yeah,
Strange.
and as much as Strange like has been a dickhead to some people, he is a good middle ground person. Like
Hmm.
he follows the rules that make sense to him, and he's happy to listen to other ideas on like other stuff. So I didn't really think much about it, but he is a pretty good Sorcerer Supreme because he's like kind of middle ground of everyone around him.
Hmm.
Like he's not as strict as Wong, he's not as like rules heavy as Mordor, and he's not
No.
he's not like the ancient one. He's not as spiritual and heady.
No, no, because he's got that science
Yeah.
brain about him, and that moral compass that he still holds for, his medical background.
Yeah.
I totally agree, but it's always been Strange's thing in the comics is he's always been great at being the
Yeah, the like
level-headed
bridge.
one.
He's the bridge between worlds. A lot of the time, we'll sort of see that in the future.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But he also has morals, and we learned that in Civil War last week when we talked about the comic side of it.
mhm,
He told Tony to go and F himself because
mhm.
he didn't agree with what he was doing. I mean,
I knew
that
it'd
was
be bad.
yeah, he knew it would be terrible. But this end scene is so brilliant because it's Caecilius in his full villain stage. Like this
Mhm.
is it. The barriers have come down, and he mentions the word time.
Yeah,
And this is where Strange is like, time. I have abundance of it. So he pauses everything and shoots on up because he manages to get rid of Caecilius for a few minutes to where he can
yeah,
actually
because
start
he like
manipulating it and putting it
he
back together.
yeah he puts like the Hong Kong sanctum back together basically, and then we get this
Doesn't quite
crazy.
get it finished at this
No,
point.
no, but we get like all the crazy reverse action scene where like the scenery is reverse being destroyed, but they're like fighting in full time, and that's how he's like gets trapped in the wall and stuff like that
Yeah,
because it puts itself back together.
yeah, and he starts to change, and he starts to turn back time to where then Wong, who was dead,
Mhm.
comes back to life,
Yeah,
and he's saying like, I know I'm breaking natural law, and he's like, hell, break away, like no, this we need to put this back to how it was. Mordor, on the other hand, stays very quiet throughout this whole thing.
yeah, he's a little. He's a jerk.
Yeah,
He's
he
not
is,
helping.
he is,
Other
but
other than he wants to kill everybody who opposes them.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right though, Sammy. This is where he kind of gets an unconventional idea about time.
Time because he like again like I say he has abundance of it, so he decides to enter the dark dimension,
Yes, he just
go
flies
to
right in.
flies right in, make sure that his now I love the fact that they do this every time he jumps in, is that he looks at it and he directs it, so he's directing his hand to Dharma. God, why can I never say his name? Dormammu, so it's only focused on him, and
Right.
he has this crazy Groundhog Day interaction with him where, Dormammu, I've come here to bargain. He doesn't quite get out the bargain for a while because Dormammu keeps killing him
Yeah.
in the most spectacular way possible. But Dormammu is out of the loop, but the loop's still happening.
Yes, because I
And
guess I guess they explain it as like his universe is without time, therefore he sort of doesn't experience time. But
but
Strange is
he
like
is,
Strange is like added it to his universe, so
yeah.
he's like, oh, he's like, you're now my prisoner.
Yeah, because
Um,
you are going to be continuously stuck in this loop, but
yeah,
you are going to know everything that's going on. It's not going to be a reset moment for you. You are
yeah.
going to know that this is going to go on for the rest of eternity unless you leave
And
and
he's
leave me
like,
alone.
but you'll die over and over again. And Strange is like, it's fine. I'm gonna
That's if
take
that's
it.
how it yeah, if that's how it needs to be for the sake of the world, because it keeps him there. It
Yes.
stops whatever Caecilius is trying to do and have this dark dimension take over. It keeps him there. So if Strange has to sacrifice himself in this loop of death, he will. And that's when Dharma was like, okay, I accept. Fuck off. Get away from us. Like
But yeah, what he does, the bargain he accepts is like, look, you take the zealots off our planet, like
yeah, you
Mads and the
take
gang.
them and I'll leave you alone if you take them and just leave my planet alone. And he's like, for
Yeah,
this, absolutely.
and this is when Strange touches back and everyone melts away. This is when he finally gets his joke that hits with Wong. Because he's like, so you got to read the whole book because the warnings come after the spells. because like he says this is
Wong's like, nice one.
yeah, because he literally like he's literally right. He read this part like after the ritual. He's like, oh, the doctor mentions not a good place to go. Like
Nope.
their version of infinite time is not good.
Yeah. And for all I sympathize a lot with Caecilius. Because I understand grief. I understand the depression side of grief as well. So I can understand where he was coming from. The selfish part is taking everyone else down with them.
Yes.
Like,
It's like you see flashes of this in people. The traumas in life do not need to lead you into nihilism and
no,
sort of and destruction of self and others. That
no,
is kind
not
of
what.
what separates like a a healthy person, I think, from like a broken person.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what we're doing here. Like Strange was broken physically as
physically
well
broken. Yeah.
and managed to have a different like outlook and outcome. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, we don't know about Kaisius. We don't know if he'll ever come back. It's possibly could, because if someone gets melted into a dark dimension, that's
Oh,
not a definitive death in comic books.
I I genuinely believe at the beginning of Strange's career and his medical training, he genuinely went into it wanting to save lives. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to be, but as he was getting good and better, the ego started to grow and grow, and it become about him. It wasn't about the medicine anymore. It wasn't about the lives. It was just him and his ego.
Yeah.
This is him realizing that he can be that person he was at the beginning of his medical journey because it was about saving lives. And this is just a
Mhm.
different way to save lives because of that sacrifice. He was willing to go through the Groundhog Day of death just to make sure that Earth was safe.
Mhm.
He's just so
And I think it's like I think he enjoys the challenge as well, because like
brilliant.
all
Yeah.
of the problems and all of the spells, it's like a puzzle you can put together and stuff and be like, what
Yeah.
about this combination of things? Like, how does this work? Because we
Yeah.
see it when he like fights Spider-Man. He's kind of enjoying the sort of like manipulation and being like, oh, if I
And
go through this.
it's so easy for him as well at that. I mean, that point
Yes,
he's definitely like,
he's
you
very
know,
dismissive of everyone. Like when
mhm.
he meets like a new hero, he's like, oh, I'll just knock your astral
he's
thing out of your body type of
he's
thing.
totally cool with Bruce when he meets Bruce for the first
Yeah,
time. He's totally cool with Bruce because he's
maybe
like, Mr.
that's
Banner,
maybe
if
that's
your green
yeah.
friend's not going to come and join us, I'd like you to step aside, please.
Well, maybe that's what we were talking about before, like the intellect level, maybe
Mhm.
like that he can sense appear.
But he can also
Um,
send ego, and Tony has so much ego.
and immaturity because he doesn't really like Peter at first. He's kind of like, can you just leave,
What
son?
is this your ward? I love that line.
Yeah.
Um, so we so disgusted by Strange and the Ancient One,
Mm.
Mordor's like, I'm bouncing, I'm out of here.
Even though it's happy ending, and now that happened, he's still not happy.
Exactly. Look at a few rules were bent, and look what happened. Lives were saved, and Wong's totally cool with it. I think Wong gets
Yeah.
him and the Ancient One's reasoning. I think Wong's has his mind is more open than Mordor's will ever be. It's
Mhm.
Mordor's mind is not open. He has the abilities of, the same as Strange, but he doesn't have an open mind.
No, and as we find out, he's a lot more heavy-handed, which I guess
Murderer
we
is
saw.
murderer is my
Yeah, which I guess we saw flashes of because he was like, let's spar. I'm going to attack you like
yeah.
immediately.
Fight like your life depends on
Yeah.
it.
So he's definitely had a different upbringing. Um, but yeah, so this is where Strange learns it's an Infinity Stone, because I think
Yeah.
this is the first time it's officially mentioned. Um, where
And
he's like, it's like, it's best, he's putting the amulet back, and he's like, yeah, it's best not to walk the streets carrying an Infinity Stone, like that
he's like,
old
what? But
saying.
they explain that the sanctums are now all safe, and
Yeah.
Wong makes the line like, well, if something comes around, Strange finishes by saying, we will be here to protect it. And he
Yes.
walks into the New York sanctum, taking his place in his
Mhm.
station, his home,
Yep. And
Baker
like
Street.
when you get that last shot, because I know you've been wanting to talk about it, where he's sort of checking his watch out for the final time and sort of wistfully looking out of his crazy window.
Mm.
um, which is a very iconic building in comics, and that window
That
is a
window
constant.
doesn't
Beautiful.
change. In the last 15 years of Strange,
Yeah.
that building doesn't change.
And it looks a little bit like his broken watch face,
Yeah.
like
It's
symbolism.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
but yeah, so when it like pulls out to the wide shot a bit and we see like the sanctum, like I was watching in a video that we're seeing the view from Avengers Tower. People have kind of figured out we're probably there. And it's like it's not like a massive like Easter egg or anything, but it's just a cute little touch to be like, oh, okay.
This is where you know where he fits in the timeline.
Yeah, he's now on the radar of the Avengers sort of thing, like he's in the
Well,
he's in the neighborhood.
he was in the radar of Hydra.
Yeah, which is
Hydra knew
interesting.
about him. Uh-huh. So we know that Doctor Strange has happened before Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and it's like part of like this is slightly before, but it leads into Ragnarok as we see in the after the
Yes.
credits.
Yes, the mid-credit scene is where we see Strange, full Doctor Strange, gloves and everything.
Yeah.
The yellow gloves. I was so happy. That was just something that they wanted, just a nod. Like it wasn't going to be a permanent part of the costume. It was just a
Yeah.
little nod to the original Doctor Strange outfit.
Yeah, and I mean his hands were kind of gnarly, so you might want to cover
That's
those up.
true. That is true. But this is where we take a section out now. I don't know if this is. I can't remember if this is plays out exactly the same way
Like
in.
shot for shot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't
Possibly.
know.
But yeah,
Or maybe edited different.
we get Thor coming in, which I remember seeing this in the cinema and everyone being like, "Whoa."
He's back. It's the whole. This just shows how far Strange has come from then to now.
Yeah.
Because Strange is like, well, I do X, Y, and Z, and I am looking after I'm watching all these different things going on, and your
Yes.
brother's causing a problem being
Yeah, he's
here.
he's on like the he's on like the magical watch list.
Yes,
Um
that's probably the best way to see it.
and we get the cute thing where he's like, I do not drink tea, and then he's like it's
Is
like
this
strange
better?
strange doesn't really mention anything, but yeah, it
Just
turns into a giant beer.
and it refills itself, so Thor is
Yes.
incredibly happy.
Which we hadn't
Um,
seen Strange do any like conjuration anything. So yeah,
so
he's
this
clearly
is how
come on a
good
lot.
he is. This is how good he is. So yes, he says, well, I'm looking for my father Odin, and he's like, oh, so if we find Odin, you'll bugger off. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, and he's like, okay, then I'll help.
So like this scene's it's really good, but it kind of does make me a little sad we don't get much like relaxing Doctor Strange, like
He's
where
just
he
straight back into the action.
where he can be like a bit playful with his magic, and you can see some more like funny sides of
Mm.
like magic, like the kind of the everlasting beer and stuff.
Yeah.
We might get it one day though. It ain't over yet.
No, it's not. He's definitely not. But we have our post credit scene, which I don't see. This doesn't play
This
because
is
it
a yeah.
because we know it doesn't play any part later on. It's kind of like why is it here? But yeah, Mordor goes to Jonathan, and this is where Jonathan explains that he's like, you are abusing the power that you've been given because you're using it for something else. So
Yeah.
this is really showing you Mordor's whole there is one line and one line only. There can't be branches to that line. And
Yeah.
Jonathan explains, well, this is my power. I earned it. Now I'm putting it into this. And he takes it away from him.
Yeah. Which then brings back all of his nerve damage, and it sucks, and it's crap because they never follow up on it, because
No,
we know, like me and Sammy know, the audience doesn't know at the time,
no.
but we know that they go a different direction and sort of
Mhm.
just drop him in as a alternate history Strange, like an alternate history Sorcerer Supreme in a different dimension.
In a different dimension, yeah, because at the end he says there's too many sorcerers.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
because
guess
he
it kind of it does pull weight when you because we are left to believe that he's a
a
dick.
threat, yeah, a threat
So when
now,
it
yeah.
comes to that when we come to meet him then and when he's in the fake Illuminati, it does punch a bit of a like yeah
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
because he's not being a dick.
Yeah, and it's like I get like that's the definitely like the natural progression. And Baron
Mm,
Mordor is a big like figure in the comics as like an evil sorcerer. Like, he's the kind of guy who's gonna make a terrible deal for some kind of like, you'll think he's helping you, but then he'll like, the
we'll do
monkey's
something
paw type of wish.
completely different.
He's the baddie that you go to if you need a magical favor, but it's never gonna work out well for anyone.
So there's actually a reference in here that I completely missed out that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned.
Mhm.
When Strange, just before he crashes, when he said he was checking his text messages.
Oh yes, there's a few sort of vague references to other people, isn't there?
Yeah, 22-year-old woman with a schizophrenia with an electric implant in her brain struck by lightning. This is in reference to superhero Madeline Joyce, also known as Miss America, who received her superpowers when an experimental electrical device her uncle was testing was struck by lightning. In the comics, Miss America is now the identity of another superhero, America Chavez,
Right, okay. So there's a little
who
link to the
inherits the original America's powers. I always remember when America's first issue came out. Oh, it
yeah.
was brilliant. Oh, it was magical. It was
I love her.
I love her costume. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that imagery of her first image. It always reminds me of Kamala's
Mhm.
first comic with the comic book and
Yeah.
her underneath it. I love that. And America's where she's got a denim jacket on, an America t-shirt, and she's like, yeah, yeah. I love that.
Yeah, we'll see us soon.
We will, but I wanted to make sure that that was referenced because obviously not the person, not Madeline Joyce, but obviously her powers are what America has.
Mhm.
So, and we get to see her later on.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's a couple others, but I think they're not really confirmed as anything as far as I could tell. They're just sort of vague references to like
yeah,
to make you sort of think about other heroes and stuff or villains.
yeah. I do have a couple of comic recommendations.
Hmm.
One which is season one, just called Doctor Strange. I can't find the year that it came out of, but I recommend this, and I only do this. I haven't read it myself, but I know the artist.
Hmm.
The artist is Emma Rios, and she does one of my favorite comic books, Pretty Deadly, by my favorite comic book writer Kelly Sue DeConnick, and Emma's artwork is beautiful.
So it's like a dream
Absolute
team for you, that one.
it is absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually gonna pick that up.
Mhm.
But the one, I mean, there's obviously, I dare you to go and read Strange New World. I would say go and read early Doctor Strange. Um, but the one that I love more than anything in the world is The Way of the Weird, and this
Okay.
was back in 2015. And this is by another one of my favorite comic book writers, which is Jason Aaron. If you've heard me wax lyrically, I he did Jason Aaron did Thor.
Hmm.
Um the Jason will be brought up later on for what you call it? What's the Thor one called with the Love and Thunder?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah.
he is behind the God Butcherer, he is behind the
Yes.
Lady Thor. Jason Aaron I am such a huge fan of his, and he did this amazing book, The Way of the Wicked back in 2015. If you want to see Strange wielding an axe, you're
Mhm.
gonna love this. It's such a brilliant book. It is the magic is ready to be abolished.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't like it.
He loves magic, this guy.
Yes,
I
and
I'll
it's
give
so good.
I'll give a comic shout out to Strange plays a pretty fun part in Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. Uh
Two that I have
and
never actually read.
well, it's so like Strange is part of the Illuminati who makes the decision to send Hulk off the planet because he's too
Oh my
dangerous.
god, that's such a lie. I have read Planet Hulk. Sorry.
But Strange isn't on board. Like he's like this is gonna suck. It's gonna be awful. And then when Hulk comes back, Strange is the one who's like kind of like going like, oh, this is really bad. Like would like we don't stand a chance when he's this angry sort of thing.
Yeah,
But he
maybe.
goes to fight him anyway because that is what you've got to do to try and save the planet. But I just really like the sort of reluctance he had, and it was an interesting side of his character where he's just like, oh, I tried to stop this bad decision, but I'm still gonna have to try and deal with it. And he's like, Hulk anger fighting does not go well with my magic. Like it's not a good
Yeah,
match at all, like sort of
yeah.
thing.
I need this to stop, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
he hates it. It's fun.
yeah. There's a couple of titles that are like a strange aimed at,
Mhm.
but what you will find with Doctor Strange is that he does kind of just dip in and out
Yeah.
of other people's
If you
stories, and
ever need to
especially
ask about a magic thing, he's there in the comics.
there's one panel, and I think it was from the one I've just mentioned, is where he goes to a bar and it's Wanda. And it's like all these other magical people, and he just sits down and has a chat with them. And you know me, I love
Yeah.
normality in the crazy. So just these all sitting down having a drink together, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
and
because when you're on like their level, it's fun to just like have them do
yeah.
something casual, like all
Oh,
world enders.
now later on in Stranger's journey in the MCU, we get to meet Clea, his wife,
Yeah,
who
fun.
is the daughter of Dormammu. Um,
Right. Okay.
However, she was originally in the original this movie.
Yeah, I could easily see them dropping in a love interest for him, like a
Didn't need it.
mystical one.
You
Um,
needed to, you needed to say goodbye to Christine. You needed to say goodbye to that life, and Christine is part of that
yeah.
life.
I want to quickly mention as well, Dormammu shows up in the video game Marvel versus Capcom. I believe
What, that
from
guy behind
three,
you?
yeah, I believe from three onwards. But what's very interesting about Marvel versus Capcom, and you'll like this, it's made by Japanese developers. It was sort of like early 2000s and stuff like that. There was like X-Men fighting games and versus like Street Fighter and stuff. But what they did, they weren't like massive comic fans, as in like there wasn't that many that they had a hold of in Japan.
Mhm.
Um, but they got like the brand Bible and the character list. So some of the characters involved in the fighting game from the Marvel side are really weird. And they just pick the ones that looked visually and like powers interesting. So you get like Dormammu's in there as a playable character. It's like, he's fighting alongside like Captain America and like, like Ryu and everything.
So
Um,
like people that, yeah.
and like also like Shuma Gorath, like the squid monster from
What?
Strange, who they kind of retcon a bit later in the movies.
Yeah.
And that I think it's like Dark Heart or something, like the big spiky shadow man. It's just
Yes.
I love how if you give our comics to like a different sort of culture, they will latch on to different like sort of icons
The
of it. It's
they won't
fun.
go to the norm of it. I have played Marvel vs. Capcom. I don't know
Yeah.
which version of it. Whatever version Rocket Raccoon's in,
I think
with
he's in three.
then it's probably that one
You should
because
make Ant load it up and show you like Dormammu's move set or something.
Rocket was always on my team because he's big
Yeah.
gun.
And
And
who's
Deadpool.
a ridiculously popular character in those games? Sentinel, just like a Sentinel from X-Men. Incredibly popular.
Wow,
It's fun.
okay.
You
Okay.
can make him a mango orange color, and everyone loves Mango Sentinel.
Okay. I might get
And
Save
yeah,
Fans got it. Um, I don't know what's next, Jake. I can't I didn't even know it was strange until
it's good. It's good. I'll tells you.
it tells you.
We're going back to the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my God, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Oh, this is gonna get interesting.
I'm gonna cry at the TV. Not
Not
on the
quite yet.
podcast, at the TV in my own time.
Oh my God, yes, I am gonna cry at this. Oh no. It's not as bad as how it's gonna be for 3. I'm just saying when we get to 3, there's gonna be trigger warnings, emotional
I
warnings,
think two
every
was
form of
worse for me,
warnings.
but I think it's just James Gunn is very good at picking at certain aspects of like human life, and if he gets the right one that that you also have some thoughts about, you're done
Yeah.
for because he'll
Yeah.
put the soundtrack in and
So
he'll
much
break your heart.
there's so much layers to the first one and the second one
Mhm.
that they build on certain characters that when it does happen, it hurts. It
He's,
really, really hurts.
for better or worse, James Gunn is good at payoff, whether it hurts us or makes us
And we're going to
happy.
get Sylvester Stallone in an MCU movie. It's going to happen.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us for Doctor Strange. As
It's been
always,
fun.
we're nerdy up north on the countdown to Doomsday. We got all of our audio life in check. It's
Are we
all
really? Are we up to
scheduled
date?
until this one gets made into an MP3. Yes,
Oh!
they'll be coming out weekly on the Spotify and the other feeds. I don't think Apple's set up yet because they like to make you wait. But that's not
Yeah,
our fault.
but hey, Spotify is a good platform, and if you are
Yeah,
listening to us on Spotify, let us know.
yeah.
Give us some indication that you are there, that you
You
are
can
listening
comment
to
on it,
us.
I think, or little ratings. But thank you for anyone who's ever listened. Um,
Or ever
and yeah,
watched this face and that
yeah.
face.
But also, even if you're like years into the future doing an MCU watch along, you might be listening to us. Thank you from the past to the future as well.
Oh, I can't be dealing with time travel.
No, let's
No,
not do that yet. Not yet.
no, my
Um,
brain's going to be scrambled when we get to Endgame anyway.
but yeah, so me and Sammy, we do fun stuff. We talk on the internet and mess about in online communities. Please join in Nerdy Up North wherever you can find it, which is pretty much everywhere. The Discord's great, the Facebook group's great, the Instagram posts are fun, and we got shorts and the long form videos where you can see our faces.
We do everything. We cover everything. We do everything. We are everywhere.
We will take over the northeast of the UK one day and be the premier media company.
One day.
We'll try. But yeah, Sam, have you got anything you're excited to plug or chat about for future?
I have obviously the Sunday episode, which Netty Up North is. So Netty Up North podcast is on a Sunday live on YouTube at 8 o'clock. And this week we are talking about Superman, and we have a special guest joining us coming to talk about Superman. So we did the Superman movies at the beginning of the year, and it's an episode I am incredibly proud of.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and because we went heavy in on that episode. We took it. I don't want to say we don't ever take everything seriously, but we really did a lot of work to make sure
yes.
that episode was done to how we wanted to put it out
A
because there
lot
was
of
a
love went
lot.
into it.
That's exactly it. So it's going to be a revisit of Superman, just the Man of Steel himself. And on Monday, I have an episode of Monsters Up North coming out that I am incredibly excited. I've bored Jake to death with my knowledge on this movie. We are doing cursed movies, The Crow.
Fight milk.
When I typed in The Crow on Vintage because I was looking for something, the amount of badges of Fight Milk that came up.
See the power and speed of a crow. That's what his face made out of. I'm
Yeah.
gonna mention the restless Sting.
Well, he is a part of pop. He is part of that kind
It's
of thing.
But yeah, so yeah, watch Monsters as well. And yeah, just thanks if you're listening.
Thanks for letting us promote all that, by the way.
Yeah, you can promote. We can do whatever we want. But yes, we're gonna sign off now,
Yeah.
and we shall see you back in space.
What?
For,
What level of Let's Fucking Go are you at?
well, since it's Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it's a let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Mary Poppins, bitch. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.